I'm Sahael Stapleton. I've finished 3 clinical years in surgery residency here at MGH, and I'm doing my professional development years. For me, there were multiple draws. As far as Mass General in particular, I was a bit intimidated by the Bullfinch building and the granite that we use here, and just by the brand, 1811 centuries of excellence and progress and people, and looking around, it was like, are people like me? Do they look like me? Do they think like me? Can I cut it intellectually, academically? Do I have the same work ethic that these people have? Do I enjoy the same TV shows or the same restaurants? And so far, I haven't been disappointed. I think one of the surprises being in the hospital is that, I guess, the pretense that you might ascribe to someone within the Harvard system doesn't exist when you're within the Harvard system looking out. I think that, at all levels, people have the humility to say, I don't know, can you teach me? Or they have, the ability to thank the patient care associate or ask somebody for help, and it doesn't matter what your title is. Well, my wife and I moved out here from San Francisco. She's a critical care nurse. She works in Ellison 4 in the surgical ICU. We have 2 very young children that occupy most of my free time outside of the hospital. Other than that, we love to cook. We love to go up to Portland to eat the food and play in the snow. And when possible, we like to travel outside of America. I was born in Pittsburgh, mostly raised in Los Angeles. I'd say that's where my accent is from. My mom was a school teacher. We lived north of LA County in a dusty, tumbleweed town where you could afford houses and things like that. As a child, I was a very adventurous child. I spent a lot of time falling out of trees, getting stitches, in and out of the hospital. Kind of in parallel with that, it was just my mom and I, so I didn't have a father figure in the house, and the physician was the closest thing that could, approach that. And so what I wanted to do in my career and in my life was represent the father figure that I didn't have growing up, and represent that for people in the hospital, but also represent that for my family back at home. And I think that was the big drive, or the big impetus that pushed me into medicine as a whole. And I ended up here at MGH, I'd say in large part because of the chair, Dr. Lolamo. He was someone I knew from medical school, and someone who I thought came across as the most genuine, down-to-earth leader, who at the same time was open enough to encourage all of our disparate professional development goals, supporting people to get PhDs, get an MBA, work in health innovation, do things at a policy level with the government across the board. I thought he kind of was the person who was best able to grow and create leaders in surgery. I would say I belong at Mass General because I wanted to surround myself with people who were better than me at anything that I could possibly hope to do. And I don't know if that is a knock against me or a compliment for everybody at Mass General, but I feel like I've been surrounded by people who excel in so many different avenues that every day I'm reminded of that, impressed, blown away, and I do my best every day to try to be, in one way or another, that person for someone else. And then another big thing, I think, for me, a draw to Boston, was the broader intellectual academic community that we have. I, as an undergrad, didn't live in a college town, so I never had that feel. And this, I think, gets really close to that, where MGH is part of Partners, is part of Harvard, is part of Harvard Medical School, and is across the river from MIT or the Broad, Google, Microsoft, and then you look, if you look into the Back Bay, you have all of the financial centers and institutions, and all the way out to, out to the airport. And I think for me, having access to all of these other resources was, if I'd never used them at all, invigorating and exciting, and if I plan to use them, imperative And so far I've been able to use a couple of them, and I've seen some of my classmates use others, and I think that it's made all of our endeavors that much easier. I have one of my classmates is interested in machine learning and artificial intelligence, and he walks a mile, and he actually does a lot of work with people at MIT, and he's worked with the TED group, and he's doing all sorts of really exciting things, and I don't know how easy that would have been if he wasn't able to look across the river and see his mentors. And similarly for me, if I wasn't able to look across the river and see the business school, there's no way with two very young children that I would have been able to even think about getting an MBA during this time.